We must revamp the way we mark and celebrate the Juneteenth holiday. We're treating it like it's an ordinary holiday, and it's anything but an ordinary holiday. I have some ideas on what we can do to make Juneteenth relevant and to keep it relevant, and to prevent our enemies from co-opting it. Stay with me. Hello, everybody. I am attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. And each and every week, we bring you at least one legal analysis of some trending story regarding politics, policies, personalities, or pop culture to empower you with the information you need to defy this unjust legal system and to nullify systemic racism. If that interests you, and I certainly hope it does, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell so you'll get notified every time we upload one of our videos. Thank you for staying with me. So yes, Juneteenth. I love the Juneteenth holiday, but it needs to be revamped. I got some ideas on how we can celebrate Juneteenth in a more productive way. Now, before we get into that, I want to invite you to go to Amazon and please grab a copy of my book, especially if you have a young black male in public schools. I assure you that your son is being mistreated in probably more than one way, and you probably don't know what it is, but you will learn how that happens in my book, Education and Justice, and you'll learn what to do about it. All right? So let's get into this. We're going to go to another screen, as always, and the title again is We Must Revamp Juneteenth to Make It and Keep It Relevant. That's what this video is all about today. Hey everyone, I am attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. Recently, I took a look at our analytics and I noticed something shocking. Many of you watch our videos and I believe you enjoy them, but you haven't subscribed yet. What are you waiting for? Again, I was shocked because I know our content is empowering and informative. Plus, our 2024 goal is to have 150,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Please help us by hitting that subscribe button, especially you young folks. We particularly want to increase our number of young subscribers. Thanks for all your continued support. We appreciate it very much. Now, I never heard of Juneteenth until I moved to Texas. My wife and I, after we got here, we started asking each other and asking ourselves, what is Juneteenth? Because we didn't celebrate Juneteenth back home in North Carolina. And even after we moved here to Texas, Juneteenth still wasn't relevant to us. We didn't understand what it was, so it wasn't significant to us. All right, now that's changed. This is a different day since then. We have educated ourselves. We know what Juneteenth is all about. In fact, Juneteenth has replaced our 4th of July celebration. We don't celebrate the 4th of July anymore because we do so at Juneteenth. Now, if you don't understand the significance of Juneteenth as an African American, I'm going to explain it to you in this video, and then I'm going to show you how we can better utilize Juneteenth for our empowerment. So what we want to do now is look at some critical dates regarding Juneteenth. The Emancipation Proclamation was Lincoln's executive order that granted freedom to blacks who were enslaved in Confederate states. It was Lincoln's way of incentivizing the enslaved in those Confederate states not to work for the Confederate Army, but to leave those Confederate states so that they could join the Union Army. So the Emancipation Proclamation really did not impact those enslaved in non-Confederate states. Now, the Emancipation Proclamation took effect on January 1, 1863. And it's the reason why we often have those watch night services, because our enslaved ancestors waited until January 1 in order for the Emancipation Proclamation to take effect. However, enslaved Africans in Texas did not get the good news that the Emancipation Proclamation had liberated all slaves in those Confederate states. And of course, those enslavers in Texas was not about to tell them and did not tell them. But the good news did reach the enslaved Africans here in Galveston, Texas on June 19th, 1865, after General Granger arrived in Galveston with largely a troop of black Union soldiers. And so it was that day that became Juneteenth. Now, Juneteenth is not the day that the 13th Amendment completely abolished and ended slavery for all enslaved blacks. That occurred over 2 years later on December 6, 1865, after the required number of states ratified the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment completely ended slavery except for blacks enslaved on Indian territories. Remember, at that time, there were 5 Native American tribes, and they were considered sovereign nations. The 13th Amendment really did not apply to them. The American government, via the Radical Republican Party, renegotiated treaties that brought about the freedom and liberation of African Americans who were enslaved on Indian territories. That is another story, quite frankly, that's worthy of its own attention. For now, just know that slavery officially ended for blacks on Indian territories on June 14th, 1866. All right, so I wanted to give you those critical dates. Now, with those critical dates in mind, let's go back to my new screen here, and I have somewhat of some breaking news I want to share with you. The Defiant Lawyers is planning its first meetup, Juneteenth 2025, and we're going to call this the Repairers Conference, and it'll be 2 days of empowerment, inspiration, collaboration, and more. And the theme of this meetup will be, We Are Repairers of the Breach. And this will be June 19th and June 20th. June 19th and June 20th. There'll be a gospel concert, including a Christian rap artist. And we're going to do this on Galveston Island, Texas, the home, the original home of the Juneteenth holiday. So that's what we're planning for Juneteenth 2025, our very first meetup. We're looking forward to it, and we hope that you, with this much advance notice, will also be able to attend. All right? Now, I want to talk about how we can revamp Juneteenth and make it more relevant, something that we can use. All right, so I got some suggestions. Stay with me here as I share this with you. Now, let's read some things from Frederick Douglass that I think help us understand why we got to be very smart in the way that we deal with Juneteenth. So he says in his book, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, a slave who would work during the holidays was considered by our masters as scarcely deserving them. He was regarded as one who rejected the favor of his master. It was deemed a disgrace not to get drunk at Christmas. And he was regarded as lazy indeed, who had not provided himself with the necessary means during the year to get whiskey enough to last him through Christmas. This is shameful. These holidays served as conductors or safety valves to carry off the rebellious spirit of enslaved humanity. But for these, the slave would be forced up to the wildest desperation, and woe betide the slaveholder the day he ventures to remove or hinder the operation of those conductors. I warn him that in such an event, a spirit will go forth in their midst, move more to be dreaded than the most appalling earthquake. Let me tell you what Frederick Douglass is saying here. The slave master wanted the enslaved people to get drunk on holidays. And if they didn't get drunk on holidays, then he saw that, the enslaver saw that as a threat. Because What are these N-words doing? What are they doing? Are they plotting? Are they planning? Are they strategizing? What are they doing? They're up to no good. But as long as they were drunk on holidays, then he knew they were no threat whatsoever to the plantation. Follow where I'm going with this? So Frederick says, their object seems to be to disguise their slaves with freedom by plunging them into the lowest depths of dissipation. For instance, the slaveholders not only like to see the slave drink of his own accord, but will adapt various plans to make him drunk. One plan is to make bets on their slaves as to who can drink the most whiskey without getting drunk. And in this way, they succeed in getting whole multitudes to drink in excess. Thus, when the slaves ask for virtuous freedom, the cunning slaveholder, knowing his ignorance, cheats him with a dose of vicious dissipation, artfully labeled with the name of liberty. The most of us used to drink it down, and the result was just what might be supposed. Many of us were led to think that there was little to choose between liberty and slavery. So as long as the enslaved Africans would get drunk on holidays, the slave master knew that particular slave or those enslaved people were not a threat. And if they were to ask for freedom, then the slave master could tell them, you already got freedom. I let you drink. I let you do what you want to do on Christmas. I let you celebrate this holiday the way you want to. You get drunk as you want to. I mean, so what are you complaining about? You got freedom. I mean, you're doing good here. And notice also, Frederick Douglass said the slave master saw drinking on the holidays as a way to release the frustration that came with being enslaved. I had us read that because in many ways, that's what Juneteenth has become and will become even more so. Just a holiday where we drink, party, maybe march and protest. And there isn't a thing wrong with marching and protesting. Don't misunderstand me. But what whites want to see us doing is basically wasting that day, that holiday, that very significant day for us. Because if we take that day to strategize and to huddle and to plan and to learn and to study, they will consider that a threat. You follow me? That's what happened on the plantation. I'm seeing that pattern with Juneteenth. And it's the reason why I said we got to revamp Juneteenth. We must. All right. So what should we do on Juneteenth? Well, let me tell you. We should have a singular focus on Juneteenth on one word, and that word is repair. We got to repair our people. Our people have been through so much and have been traumatized by 200 and almost 50 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow and current day systemic racism. We must be working on repairing our communities, our families, our youth. So Juneteenth is not a day to just hang out at the park and cook out. Juneteenth is not just a celebration. Juneteenth is really a mindset. We got to make it a mindset of freedom, equality, a mindset of demanding some things. So it's not just a day that comes around every year, but it's a mindset that guides us day by day by day by day, month by month by month by month. And so Juneteenth then becomes that day or those days in June where we have met, conferred, strategized, and we have our marching orders until next Juneteenth. You follow me? Now, let me give you some specifics. So back to the word repair. I made that word an acronym where the R stands for reparations. All right, let's go back to another screen. Reparations. Juneteenth reminds white America of its sins and crimes against African Americans. It further reminds white America they owe us reparations for the enslavement of our ancestors and the harm done to our communities. Reparations is a debt that we must demand that America pays. And we will never stop fighting for recognition, repudiation, repentance, and reparations for the sins of slavery, Jim Crow, etc. We must keep reminding America of its sins and crimes against our ancestors and us, especially now as white America is attempting to erase or rewrite the evils of slavery, white supremacy, in public schools. So the R in repair, first and foremost, stands for reparations. Reparations. The damage, the harm that has been done to us and our communities, in our neighborhoods. They must repair that. They must repair that. It is part of the reason why we're on the bottom of the economic ladder in this country. I have an upcoming video that talks about that very thing. And I've shown you, and I'm going to show you again, that of all the groups in America, blacks are on the bottom economically in terms of income and wealth. And that is directly linked to the 400 years of racial oppression that we've suffered in this country. And keep in mind, Jim Crow segregation, Jim Crow sharecropping, and all the rest, that has been dismantled only 70 years, about 70-something years at this point. I mean, that's like a generation. That's my parents' generation. And keep in mind, they never did give us what we needed immediately after slavery to build wealth. And it's the reason why we own less than 4% of the nation's wealth to this very day. And we can do all the right things, make all the right decisions. We could be the best people in the country. But because we're so far behind and have been damaged so badly, we could not close the wealth gap between us and whites and Asians unless we get reparations. And that's not a handout. Reparations are not a handout. Reparations are what we are owed for laying the economic foundation for this country. So the R in repair is reparations. The E in repair is education. Juneteenth, again, is or should be a mindset of not only reparations, but education regarding our past, our present, and future. And the education should focus mainly on the tactics and strategies of our enemies. They have never ceased their relentless drive to reverse our progress. For example, I've talked to you about this so many times, but the mission of Trump, of MAGA, of Project 2025, of SCOTUS, the GOP, is to transform America into a fascist autocracy like Russia. And you may say, why a fascist autocracy like Russia? Well, the answer is they want Trump to be an autocrat like Putin. Then Trump can assist them in dismantling the progressive movement that brought about civil rights laws. And the purpose of dismantling civil rights laws and the progressive movement is to preserve white male supremacy or dominance. We must develop and implement a counterattack to their planned autocracy because democracy matters. And minorities suffer the most under autocracies. So, the R in repair is reparations. The E in repair is education. The P in repair is protection. Reparation, education, protection. A Juneteenth mindset should include lots of strategizing regarding our charted future. This strategizing is necessary to protect the valuable rights that our ancestors gained for us. So when Juneteenth comes around, we should be discussing how we will equip more African Americans to seize the opportunities and walk through the doors we opened in the fight for full equality. Again, this discussion, this strategizing is critical at a time when Trump, MAGA, Project 2025, SCOTUS, and the GOP, as I just said, are on a mission to reverse civil rights laws. For example, they have almost gutted the Voting Rights Act. They have set their sights on the Civil Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, the Brown versus Board of Education case, and policies created to open doors for us, like DEI, affirmative action, HBCUs, and more. We've already done a video about the Fearless Fund case where the court said, this is crazy, that it is discrimination against white people for black people to help themselves and to help each other. I mean, what community in America does not help each other in that way? That's one of the reasons why Asians are able to get ahead, because they fund each other's businesses and each other's education. Yet when we do it, Trump-appointed judges said that we're discriminating against white people. So we must protect the civil rights that we won, that our ancestors fought and won for us, or they're going to take them all away. And life for us is going to be very, very different. So the R stands for reparations, the E stands for education, the P stands for protection, and the A stands for acquisition. Acquisition. So demanding reparations is the first letter in repair. But a Juneteenth mindset also requires that we acquire full economic rights. In other words, we can't wait on reparations. We pound the country, we demand reparations, but we don't wait until we get reparations. We must be acquiring full economic rights now. As I said earlier, we only possess 4% of this nation's wealth, although we're 12% of this nation's population. What's more, the median wealth of a white family is around 8 to 10 times greater than African Americans. And some immigrant communities have more wealth than even whites. I got an upcoming video where I'm going to deal with all of that. Some African Americans, yes, appear to be doing very well, and some are, but most are not. When we only own 4% of this nation's wealth, that tells us that most African Americans do not have a lot of wealth. Many African Americans have no wealth. So Juneteenth is a beautiful time for African Americans to meet and discuss how to acquire more wealth. Again, remember, the goal, the mindset of Juneteenth should be repair. Reparations, education, protection, acquisition. The I stands for inspiration. Now let me tell you what I mean. Our youth are in a crisis. Too many are dying, gang affiliated, performing poorly in school, fathering and birthing children prematurely, incarcerated, and more. A significant component of a Juneteenth mindset is inspiring our youth to avoid these traps. It is about fostering a sense of pride and self-worth in our youth, helping them see their potential and strive for excellence in all areas of their life. A Juneteenth mindset encourages our youth to value education, self-discipline, and community engagement as tools to overcome adversity. By instilling these values, by inspiring these values, we can guide our youth toward positive paths away from the dangers threatening their futures. So the I in repair stands for inspiring our youth, our young men, our young women at early ages to avoid those pitfalls that are out there for African American youth. My daughter Chloe and I, we represent juveniles, and every single day we see what the streets are doing to young Black people. And Juneteenth should be a mindset. It should be a time where we focus, where we strategize, where we think, critically think, organize what we're going to do to save our children, to save our youth. So the I stands for inspire our youth. Repair, reparations, education, protection, acquisition, inspiration. And the R, the remaining R, is reflection. Now, let me tell you what I mean. Take a look at that picture. Juneteenth reminds us how far God has brought African Americans from. The day has deep spiritual significance and should be a day of deep reflection. To reflect on how white America brutally enslaved our ancestors as chattel for almost 250 years. It is painful and unimaginable, but it's a reflection that is absolutely necessary. We must reflect on how they stripped our ancestors of human rights and causing African Americans to be less than dogs or rodents in the eyes of the law. They had no rights whatsoever. In fact, Chief Justice Roger Taney said in the Dred Scott decision that the Africans had no rights that white people were obligated to respect. Thus, with that Supreme Court case hanging over the country, whites beat, raped, men, women, and children, lynched, worked our ancestors like mules, no matter how cold, no matter how hot, worked them like they were animals, fed like babies to alligators, maimed and tarred and feathered Black men, coerced Black men to fight ravenous dogs for profit and sport, and they did so much more to our ancestors. So every June 19th, we should use this holiday to reflect on this sadistic past and thank God for bringing us through it. A lesser stock people would have cracked, would have folded, but not us, because we come from a strong stock of people. And even that brutality cannot and will not stop us. So we need to do reflection every Juneteenth. So, repair, reparations, education, protection, acquisition, inspiration, and reflection are the things that we need to do when we gather on Juneteenth. And we shouldn't just do those things on Juneteenth, the day, but this should be a mentality, a way to think, a way to see life, a way to empower ourselves, a way to inspire our youth who are out here struggling. Just this past Juneteenth celebration, this past weekend, a 17-year-old child shot and killed 2 adults, 2 African Americans, One was a mother of 2 or 3 children. I have the story right here. I mean, it is really literally one of the saddest things I read regarding Juneteenth. And it just tells you, it begs for what I'm trying to say, that we need to absolutely revamp Juneteenth. This should not happen. Teen arrested in Austin area Juneteenth shooting that killed 2, including Mansfield mother of 3. This mother had 3 small children. I believe there's a picture of her here. Look at this. Look at that. 3 children. 3. That father now has to raise his 3 babies himself. Those 3 babies will not have their mother because some misguided young African-American teen boy allegedly murdered this woman. And I promise you, it was for nothing. It was over nothing. This family just came to celebrate Juneteenth. We got to revamp this. We got to fix this. We got to prevent Juneteenth from being, again, an ordinary holiday where we get together and some of our traumatized people end up hurting some of the other people. And so it's just another sad day in the hood. No, we can't let Juneteenth slip to that. And I'll give you another reason for why we got to revamp Juneteenth. Because our enemies are going to co-opt it. They're going to steal it. They're going to create all kind of Juneteenth sales, like Thanksgiving, right? Black Friday sale. They're going to do all that sort of stuff and pretty much make it nothing. But if we make Juneteenth relevant and keep it relevant and cause it to be a mindset rather than just an ordinary holiday, Juneteenth will live on, and it will be a source of tremendous empowerment. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with you about Juneteenth. We got to revamp it. We got to change it. We got to seize it. We got to make it relevant, and we got to keep it relevant. Otherwise, it's going to become something really negative, and folks are going to not mess with it. And then, like I said, there's also the threat of corporate America basically co-opting it and making it some sort of shopping day. We don't want that. This day is just too important in our history. It symbolizes the day that our ancestors were freed. All right? So I am Attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. Thank you for joining me in this video, and stay tuned for Juneteenth 2025. All right? Peace.